University. Dr. McGinnis, before we had our break, we were talking about some of the unique aspects of Tennessee State University. And I'd like to turn to a different subject and to talk to you about the difference, as you see it, between what we call an historically black private institution as represented by Dr. Satcher and an historically black institution, state-supported institution as represented by yourself and Dr. Richmond today.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Satcher's advocacy of the role of the private college in the American society and the evolution of American history. There are a lot of groups in American society that have established their institutions to preserve what they thought was an important element of their culture and their history and their traditions. Institutions like Notre Dame and Brandeis, or the University of the South in Sewanee that I attended as an undergraduate, and the Fisk, Howard, Atlanta University kind of institution. I think these are extremely important and have played a highly significant role in American history and should continue to do so. But I feel very strongly that state institutions must clearly be institutions that do not have an identity with any specific group in our society. I mean, I think that's what the Supreme Court said in 1954 in the Brown decision. And I think that is what we would like to be striving toward in terms of the long-run goal of not having people making these kinds of decisions because of an institution identified with a particular race, black or white. The other thing with reference to the kinds of institutions the TSU is often compared with, and now we can talk about the state-supported historically black colleges, the Florida A&Ms, the Jackson States, the Gramblings. When, on July the 1st, 1979, when the merger with UT Nashville was effectuated, TSU became a school with two missions and two histories, and which is different from any of those other historically black colleges. Florida A&M is right across the street from Florida State. There is, if you want to call Florida State a white alternative, okay, I'm not sure I would agree with that, but if for the sake of argument, if you want to characterize it that way. That white alternative was eliminated when UT Nashville was merged into TSU. TSU has an obligation to serve the constituency that UTN served, as well as, okay, not instead of, but as well as the constituency that it historically served. And most of the loss of our enrollment has come from that constituency, black and white.
Very well. And I don't mean to interrupt, but we're running out of time here. One last question, Rich, before we go. What about access? And I'd like for you to spend about 15 or 20 seconds on access, and I'd like for you to say something about access, too. That is the ability for black people to have an opportunity at education at Tennessee State University.
That is the critical problem of desegregation. In fact, that's the problem we were supposed to be solving. What has happened is that people have solved all kinds of other problems and ignore the one that was supposed to be solved. When you reduce the number of black and the percentage of black students, faculty, administrations, and so on, you're not desegregating, you're resegregating. The whole idea in terms of segregation was that black folks were denied the ability to get engineering degrees in the same proportions as other people, doctorate degrees in the sciences, and medical doctors degrees, and become lawyers and so on. So the whole idea of access is what the segregation is supposed to be about. Anything else and anything that ignores that is segregation again.
Very well. We're going to have to end it on this word, Dr. Richmond. But I'd also like to invite our audience to tune in next week when we will continue our discussion on the question of desegregation in Tennessee State University. As a matter of fact, Dr. McGinnis, you will be a part of that program. That is one reason that we did not have an opportunity to say anything else about access to you. But we do hope that you will speak to that issue next week. And this is Dr. Haney bidding you good night for Black Pulse.
Still in use. For our Minority Report features during this Black History Month celebration, we will be presenting excerpts from a conversation between Dr. James E. Haney of the History Department of Tennessee State University and WPLN's Larry Adams. Today's conversation touches on the background elements which make the Constitution both a radical and a conservative document. We begin the conversation with a comment from Larry Adams.
I can remember the first day in our study of the Constitution in American history in high school that my teacher, Cora Rowe, made the flat statement that the Constitution as it was originally written, shorn of its amendments and the Bill of Rights, is a rich man's document that has a lot more to do with setting up forms of government and the play of parts of government against each other than it does the rights and responsibilities of citizens. If that's so, why are we